sit on a throne of lies.
Look, I'm not kidding.
You're a fake.
I'm a fake?
Yes.
How'd you like to be dead?
There are movies that are Christmas movies, which for various reasons you just get the urge to watch in the lead up to Christmas. Just as in the lead up to Christmas, YouTube channels feel the urge to talk about what is and isn't a Christmas movie. And unfortunately, this channel is no exception. So do we part on good terms, or do we circle each other, draw Nerf daggers, and pretend this is a duel to the death?
It's bothered me for years.
Nope, it's a Stam Fine Christmas special.
May I?
It is that time of year again, and I don't just mean it's Christmas, nor do I mean that it's time for Christmas movies, but it's time for the debates about what does and doesn't constitute a Christmas movie. I mean, for any movie that has the words Christmas or Santa in the title, it's probably either a Christmas movie or a really poorly thought out Mother's Day movie.
Now I have another reason to hate Christmas.
I mean, I like Christmas. I'm just not a fan of most Christmas movies, since the vast majority of them have a plot more predictable than a book called Supertanker with a stuck rudder travelling in a straight line.
And call off Christmas.
Christmas has a lot of time-worn traditions, like asking, did you keep the receipt? Or regifting anything that has the word scented on the box, or pretending that you will absolutely forward that child's wish list to Santa's private email account.
And that's how I found out there was no Santa Claus.
Some people have traditions where they will watch Christmas movies every year, no matter how many times they've seen them. Today, I have picked a selection of movies that I tend to watch at Christmas when I want something vaguely Christmas themed. It's not a list of the best nor the greatest, and in some cases they only just reach any arbitrary Christmas threshold. They are just films selected by a panel of one. I really hope you can guess who that is. And yes, we will use made-up statistics to determine whether a film can be regarded as a Christmas movie.
And I had time to build that rocking horse.
Where did you get all the wood?
On the surface, making a Christmas movie sounds like a poor business model, whereby you would think that there's only a limited window each year where somebody is interested in watching a Christmas movie. I mean, does anybody other than Tim Allen want to watch The Santa Claus in March? It might just be that the very worst Christmas gift of all time is a DVD of a Christmas movie.
What kind of mother am I?
You would think that a Christmas movie is almost a smash and grab. Get in quick, make your money, and move on to the next job. Conventional movie industry wisdom is that if you don't make your money back quickly, then you will find it hard to ever make a profit on your investment. But if you do make a profit, then you have to hide the fact from profit participants.
Could just have him murdered.
However, a half-decent Christmas movie that finds a relatively appreciative audience can come back every year, just like that unexplained rash.
I can't get the antlers glued onto this little guy.
Have you tried Staples?
The Polar Express was an animated film that did reasonably well in its original release, but not necessarily well enough to put the film into profit, since its exorbitant cost was higher than a kite flown by a stoner in a hot air balloon. Yet every Christmas, there they are, those dead-eyed animated zombies staring into space. Kids who grew up with it watch it again, and then later on they've been showing their kids, and so on. So maybe you actually can make more money with a flop if it becomes an evergreen property. Okay, but what about those movies that aren't really pure Christmas movies that seem to get the same treatment?
Because I'm a New York cop.
So we'll start with a version of the most Christmassy story of all time, A Christmas Carol. Charles Dickens' 1843 novella about a rich, grumpy asshole who hoards his wealth and then lets everybody around him suffer. I'm just so glad that that's not a thing anymore. Christmas Carol is also a story that has been done to death, both dramatically, comedically, science fictionally, Muppetly. Seriously, A Muppet Christmas Carol is a fairly straight take on the story and is probably one of the best. It's just got the Muppets and Michael Caine, who is not a Muppet, but he may have been called one on more than one occasion. Variations of the story have been done in Doctor Who, Blackadder, The $6 Million Man. I mean, it's the first crutch you lean on when you have to write a Christmas episode, but you're burned out.
What about A Christmas Carol?
So if we're going to go with The Christmas Carol, which it's a great story, but it's been done to death,
And I'd say, stop it.
so I'm just going to go with Richard Donner's 1988 version of the story, Scrooged, for various reasons related to, well, I just watched it the other day. So that's 10% recency bias, but 90% lazy-ass bias.
Sweet and kind and decent, yet caring, wonderful. Not on this planet!
Scrooge tells the same basic story, but set in modern times, where it's both a broad comedy fantasy and a dark fable all in one film. Christmas is where Ebenezer Scrooge is at his most assaholic, and so he's confronted by the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future.
Nobody gets it.
In Scrooged, Bill Murray is grumpy television executive Frank Cross, who heads a television network where he pushes some pretty tacky trash.
Oh my gosh. Does that suck?
But he also pushes everybody away from him. The ghosts show him how he ruined his relationship with his former love, Karen Allen, plus the film provided employment for most of Bill Murray's family.
Frank, you still spent the next 15 years of your life sitting on your ass watching television.
It also has Robert Mitchum, Alfred Woodward, Bobcat Goldthwait, John Forsythe, Carol Kane, John Glover, Michael J. Pollard, and Lee Majors. Despite this cast though, this is Bill Murray's film, and his off-the-cuff style of acting did not work well with Richard Donner's way of working, which led to a difficult working relationship between the two.
And it can happen to you. I believe in it now. I believe it's gonna happen to me now. I'm ready for it.
Murray had come off an extended break from acting, with Scrooged putting him front and centre without backup of co-leads like he had in films like Stripes or Ghostbusters.
I'm the ghost.
Whether or not you like this film really does depend on your opinion of Bill Murray. I mean, I like Bill Murray. He's at least slightly more than a medium talent.
What's going on here? Damn it! Damn it!
It was written by two of Murray's friends, Mitch Glazer and Michael O'Donoghue, who had both written at various times for Saturday Night Live. Their version of the script was quite different from the final product, where it seems like none of the top talent was happy with how Scrooged turned out.
Your life might just depend on it.
However, it was very successful and audiences embraced it, such that it's turned into the sort of film that it's a Christmas movie to watch every year.
We should be taping this.
It's a Christmas movie to watch if you really don't like Christmas movies, but feel compelled to watch a proper Christmas movie at this time of year.
I thought it would be fun for him to see a live television show.
You see anybody having fun here?
Scrooged is an example of creative tensions behind the scenes, leading to an enjoyable Christmas romp. So is it a Christmas movie? Well, you bet your foot fungus it is. It's set at Christmas, everything revolves around the Scrooge stand-in discovering his humanity in time for Christmas. But remember, it's really about the human part.
Oh, whoa, I dropped her. I'm just kidding. She's a doll.
So Scrooged, when run through the standardized Christological perception tests, reached an atomic tinsel rating of 8.65, which is one more than is usual for this time of year.
6-inch ribbon curls, honey.
That's impossible.
6 inches.
The next is the 2003 comedy Elf. Unlike everything else in this video, this is a G-rated family picture that kids and adults alike can enjoy. It manages to not be the usual saccharine Christmas movie, though it does have a lot of heart. And it's totally a kids movie and a Christmas movie. It's got Santa, played by Ed Asner. It has real elves in the North Pole. And when we say elves, we mean the little folk who make toys in the North Pole, not the other sort of elf with names like Legolas, Galadriel, or Celebrimbor. Otherwise, we'd have to say Celebrimbor again and again, and nobody wants a video with more than 3 Celebrimbors. Buddy is an orphan child who's raised by elves in the North Pole. His adoptive father is Bob Newhart, but his real dad is a New York publisher of children's books, and yes, a grump played by James Caan. Buddy makes it to New York, but he's basically a grown man who knows about Christmas stuff and very little else. When his biological father initially doesn't want to know him, Buddy is mistaken for a department store elf where he ends up redecorating the store at night and meets Jovi, played by Zooey Deschanel, in an early role where she still had a visible forehead.
Please stop talking to me.
Uh-oh. Sounds like someone needs to sing a Christmas carol.
Go away.
Buddy is eventually taken in by his dad and his wife, played by Mary Steenburgen.
We elves try to stick to the 4 main food groups. Candy, candy canes, candy corns, and syrup.
He insults a top children's author, played by Peter Dinklage, and generally good-natured hijinks ensue. All throughout this movie are jokes that are still G-rated, but they're just cleverer than the usual stuff at a movie aimed at a younger audience.
You see gum on the street, leave it there. It's not free candy.
Elf is a Christmas movie in that you cannot separate the film's characters and plot from Christmas.
Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color? Put that down.
Hello? Hello?
Actor and director Jon Favreau started off writing and acting in indie films before graduating to directing studio films. After Elf's success, he'd go on to kickstart the MCU with the first 2 Iron Man movies and would create the Star Wars television series The Mandalorian.
They're kind of pissed about this.
Really?
It's a film where you can happily let kids watch it and adults will probably get a kick out of it. Again, it depends on your Will Ferrell threshold. I'm a huge Will Ferrell fan here, but I can dig because I used to live with someone who absolutely hated Will Ferrell. So that's why there was the Will Ferrell shed. I don't want to go into it.
You did it! Congratulations! World's best cup of coffee.
Running Elf through the chromatograph scanner, we find that Elf attains a xanthophobic level of between 6 and 8, which puts it in the top tier of the category of Christmas and Christmas-like films.
There's no singing in the North Pole.
Yes, there is!
Home Alone saw the extended McAllister family jet off to Europe, but they've managed to leave behind young Kevin, where he has to fend for himself and defend his home from 2 burglars played by Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern. Home Alone is totally a movie set at Christmas time, though it's not 100% dependent on being set at Christmas other than it's holidays, and the holidays are catalyst for the street being fairly empty. I mean, technically you could have gone with a nearby train derailment where a chemical tanker has leaked a deadly nerve agent into the town water supply, which requires the town to be evacuated for a period, but somehow the threat of a young boy being poisoned on Christmas Eve doesn't have the same sense of fun as a young boy repeatedly inflicting blunt trauma on a pair of crooks. Home Alone was a movie that we covered a while back, and it was an unexpectedly large hit in 1990. But not just a hit, it was the biggest movie of the year, pulling in more money from theatres than other big films that year, like Ghost, Dances with Wolves, Pretty Woman, Hunt for Red October, Die Hard 2, and Back to the Future Part 3. Home Alone, though, unlike most Christmas movies, and also unlike most fish, had legs. It was released in November and still became the biggest movie of 1990, but unique for a Christmas set movie, was #1 for 12 weeks, well into 1991, where it also became one of the biggest money spinners of that year. So while there were sequels, most of which were also set at Christmas, only the first 2 Home Alone movies starred Macauley Culkin. The later ones featured whoever's parents were desperate enough to have their kid become a dropout at age 17.
I made my family disappear.
As an aside, I too once had a small role in a possibly made-up Home Alone film, where, due to favourable exchange rates, Home Alone Winter Home Invasion was filmed in Australia and at Christmas time, but production had to be abandoned when the cast ended up in hospital with heat stroke after filming the blizzard scene.
You guys give up, or you're thirsty for more?
Home Alone was produced by John Hughes, though he handed over the director's chair to relative newcomer Chris Columbus, who'd previously written films like Gremlins, but his efforts as a director hadn't been so successful. Home Alone's staggering success, where it would take about 20 years before another comedy made as much money, would turn Columbus into an A-list director for the next decade and a half.
This is it. Don't get scared now.
We ran Home Alone through the infrared Xmas Doppler radar and found, despite a few lapses, its Christmas credentials were impeccable.
Love is all a fuck, wank, bugger, shitting, arse, head and hole.
Love Actually from 2003 is also totally a Christmas movie, though it's definitely one to watch if you're sharing the couch with a loved one or loved ones. No judgment.
Actually, they're not funny. They're art.
Richard Curtis wrote and directed the movie, where he was previously a co-writer of the 80s classic Blackadder and had made 90s comedies, 4 Weddings and a Funeral and Notting Hill.
Oh yeah, that is dodgy.
There's no single overall plot, just a lot of character sketches of people who live mostly charmed lives in London. The storylines can overlap slightly, where most of the main characters are known to others. It's a mostly funny, occasionally poignant and bittersweet movie. It has people with failing relationships, a difficult relationship between a sister and her brother in a hospital, a young boy whose mother's just died yet he's infatuated with a girl at school, a storyline about unrequited love, a storyline about a faded rock star trying to make a comeback, and his friendship with his manager, a story about lust where a young British man can't get anywhere in England and so goes to America to impress American chicks. A storyline where 2 body doubles on a movie set hit it off, a writer getting over a breakup, falls in love with a young Portuguese woman, and finally a new British Prime Minister who falls for the East End girl who works at number 10. And of course, it ends with a big musical number at a school recital, and yes, wouldn't you know it, it's this song. This all leads to a young boy somehow managing not to be taken out by snipers in an airport. Not everyone has a happy ending to their story, but it's a mostly upbeat and hopeful and sweet movie. It's also incredibly funny.
It's not worth it, this isn't bloody Shakespeare.
Though it's not a kid's film in any way, with a lot of casual swearing and a bit of nudity.
It's fine. You could have said fuck and then we'd have been in real trouble.
It stars everyone, and I mean everyone. I don't have to name them all, but just people like Hugh Grant, Liam Neeson, Emma Thompson, Alan Rickman, Colin Firth, Keira Knightley, Bill Nighy, the guy from The Walking Dead who blows your mind when you realise he's British, Andrew Lincoln, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Chris Marshall, Martin Freeman, Joanna Page, Rowan Atkinson, Thomas Brodie Sangster, who's now like 57, Laura Linney, Billy Bob Thornton, Rodrigo Santoro, and well, the list, like my hypochondriac cousin Rick's list of imagined symptoms, does go on and on and on and on.
What do you call that?
Bottle.
Bottle.
To determine whether Love Actually qualifies as a Christmas movie, we showed the film to a psychic who had been hitting the eggnog pretty hard. While they think Love Actually is probably Christmas enough, they did have some questions like, did we have a bucket?
Oh, Jesus, not that crap again!
Trading Places from 1983 features upper-class Philadelphian snob Louis Winthorpe, who's thrown out of his cushy life onto the streets to see how he will survive, while streetwise hustler Billy Ray Valentine is taken in by Winthorpe's former employers, the Duke brothers, and trained as a broker, where Billy Ray demonstrates an aptitude for buying and selling.
William has already made us a profit of $15,000.
You want me to break something else?
No.
Meanwhile, Winthorpe hits rock bottom. Well, he thinks. Only to find rock bottom is an absolute illusion. There is always further to fall. The only consolation, he's helped out by a hooker with a heart of gold, Ophelia.
I'll bet that man could run our company as well as your young Winthorpe.
All of this is as a result of Mortimer and Randolph Duke having a bet.
$1.
The fun begins with Winthorpe and Billy Ray teaming up to beat the Dukes at their own game.
Louis bet me that we couldn't both get rich and put y'all in the poorhouse at the same time. He didn't think we could do it. I won.
Trading Places was a film that was originally developed as a team-up for Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder. Eventually became Dan Aykroyd and up-and-comer Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
John Landis directed the film, and it's hilarious. It is certainly of its time, but still quite hilarious.
The next boom. Your kids don't go to college and they've repossessed your Bentley. Are you with me?
Yeah, but we gotta kill him, motherfucker! We gotta kill him!
Its status as a Christmas movie is a little tenuous, in that most of the film takes place in the lead up to Christmas. Most of the final reel takes place after Christmas, on New Year's Eve and early in the new year. So despite Christmas decorations, a Santa outfit, a Christmas party and annual bonuses, Trading Places with very few changes could totally have been set at almost any time of the year.
It tells time simultaneously in Monte Carlo, Beverly Hills, London, Paris, Rome, and Stade.
But for me, this has become my go-to Christmas movie for the last decade or so. Every year I'll say, look, I'll give Trading Places a rest this year so it doesn't get too familiar, and then I end up watching Trading Places.
Mortimer, your brother's not well. We better call an ambulance. Fuck him!
Eddie Murphy's early 80s films, Trading Places along with 48 Hours and Beverly Hills Cop, saw him at his funniest in the movies, where his Midas touch here lessened slightly after he became a megastar in the wake of Beverly Hills Cop's release in 1984.
It occurs to me that the best way you hurt rich people is by turning them into poor people.
Dan Aykroyd, like Murphy, came from Saturday Night Live, and he had a really good decade in the 80s as well, with The Blues Brothers, Trading Place, Spies Like Us, Dragnet, My Stepmother is an Alien, all of which are a mix of variously enjoyable to great films.
Hope you know what you're doing.
Thank you, Ophelia.
What are you doing?
Trading Places also has great performances from Jamie Lee Curtis, Denham Elliott, Ralph Bellamy, Don Amici, and Paul Gleason as the foul-mouthed detective.
Hold on. Fuck off.
It's probably just Christmassy enough to qualify for a place in the pantheon of Christmas movie backups, where Christmas is not particularly integral to the plot, but what the hell do you savages want? An Easter movie?
Christmas, huh? I'll give him a Christmas present he'll never forget!
Gremlins is Joe Dante's 1984 dark comedy horror film, which is certainly a Christmas movie, when a young man, Billy, receives as a present a strange creature called a mogwai. Gizmo is the cutest thing ever, even cuter than a puppy humping a kitten, and just as disconcerting when it breeds. If you get a mogwai wet, it spawns more mogwai, and if you feed them after midnight, shit, they turn into some nasty-assed gremlins. The gremlins are fruitful and multiply and take over the town on Christmas Eve, where they will kill various locals along the way, and it's up to Gizmo, Billy, and his Christmas-hating girlfriend Kate to save the town. The Mogwai and the Gremlins became iconic, where the 3 rules governing successful Mogwai ownership are known to everyone even if they haven't seen the film. I mean, don't get them wet, don't feed them after midnight, or subject them to bright light, which are also the same rules that my mechanic has suggested in order to keep a 2007 Mini on the road.
I'll bet every kid in America would like to have one of these.
Gremlins proved to be a smash and remained director Joe Dante's most successful movie. The film, with its mix of humour and horror, proved iconic, though a non-Christmas related sequel a few years later didn't do all that well. Gremlins is also pretty much the most effects-heavy movie in this list, and one of the darkest.
You say you hate Christmas, and everybody makes you feel like you're a leper or something.
A videotape of Gremlins was run through a magnetic imaging scanner, but due to us not actually reading the instructions of the scanner, the tape was accidentally wiped, so we had to go into another room and watch Gremlins on our phone. A cursory examination did reveal that Gremlins was at least as much a Christmas movie as most other things set at Christmas, so I guess, yeah, sure, why not?
There just might be a gremlin in your house.
But then we come to the film that annually is the source of the most controversy over whether it is or isn't a Christmas movie. Die Hard from director John McTiernan started off as an adaptation of a book that had been inspired in part by the 1974 film The Towering Inferno, when author Roderick Thorpe decided that what that film really needed was some terrorists. His 1979 book, Nothing Lasts Forever, formed the basis of what would become Die Hard, which took television star Bruce Willis and turned him into an action movie superstar.
Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
New York cop John McClane lands in Los Angeles to spend Christmas with his kids and his estranged wife, Holly. While getting cleaned up before attending Holly's office Christmas party, a group of gatecrashers turn up. Now, okay, gatecrashers might be understating things slightly, because I think once automatic weapons are involved, that sort of turns into terrorists. But they end up being crooks looking to open a vault in the building. Except they reckoned without John McClane.
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
Who, of course, is very hard to kill. Now, as my former anesthesiologist would say, no worries, mate, me smart, Die Hard. Die Hard was a smash hit when it was released in the summer of 1988. Yes, the summer. So people will watch a movie set at Christmas in the summer. The original trailer even had snippets of Let It Snow. So they never hid that it was set at Christmas.
You're amazing. You figured this all out already.
But Die Hard did not become a hit because people thought it was a Christmas movie to watch at Christmas time. They watched it because it was a cool action movie. If you tried to pick out the Christmas parts, then the movie's sort of there, but you still need a way to get John McClane to attend a party at his estranged wife's office, so setting a story on Christmas Eve cuts out a lot of the need to explain why there's a party and why McClane has come all the way out to Los Angeles. Over the years, and let's make an assumption here, that there's people who are into action films but probably got sick of watching Love Actually and Jingle All the Way and Elf and whatever, and push the theory that, since Die Hard was set at Christmas, it's a Christmas movie, so it should be added to the Christmas movie rotation.
Hey, frequency talk, huh?
So yes, Die Hard is a movie set at Christmas. It has a few Christmas carols, some Christmas decorations, a Christmas party, and a Santa reference.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
But it's probably not a Christmas movie, rather than something where Christmas is as good an excuse as any to watch Die Hard. The only issue that I really have with classifying Die Hard as a Christmas movie is that it puts a barrier to watching Die Hard at any other time of the year. Die Hard can be enjoyed, and this is just bear with me, in January, in February, in March, in April, in May, in June, in July, in September, October, and November, but not in August. I don't make the rules, I just make up the rules.
Hey, John boy.
After contacting the spirits from beyond on our Ouija board, we were unable to say definitively whether Die Hard is or isn't a proper Christmas movie, but that it's now achieved the profile of a full-on Christmas movie, so sure, why not?
This is their idea of Christmas. I gotta be there for New Year's.
Die Hard does raise another question as to why so many other well-regarded films that are set at Christmas, action movies, haven't also become considered Christmas movies. Die Hard 2 is also set on Christmas Eve. Yet no one gives two shits about pushing Die Hard 2 as a Christmas movie. I mean, it's a decent enough action movie on its own, but perhaps not as much fun as the first film. Batman Returns, should that qualify as a Christmas movie? I think in that movie, Christmas trees have more screen time than Batman. Lethal Weapon was a 1987 action film from Superman and Scrooged director Richard Donner that was, funnily enough, set in the lead up to Christmas with Christmas carols and Christmas tree and the like, and yet it's never become labelled a Christmas movie. The writer of that film, Shane Black, seen here in Predator, seemed to have a thing about Christmas where he set many of the films that he wrote at Christmas time. His feature film debut as director, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, is a dark comedy thriller. It's also set at Christmas, and for me, at least personally, it's one of those films that gets screened every couple of Christmases. Planes, Trains and Automobiles is a movie that's set at Thanksgiving. Although, since that really means nothing to audiences outside of North America, it's almost a Christmas movie or a Christmas movie substitute. I mean, it's close, but all the blood tests came back negative from the pathology lab, and so Planes, Trains and Automobiles is best described as the cousin of a Christmas movie twice removed. Now, a Black Friday movie, now that could almost be considered an international day. Though, if the notion of a movie about a shopping event offends thee, then perhaps you should ignore the upcoming romantic comedy Prime Day.
Basically, you're fucked, aren't you?
Now that I have laid out 7 movies that have the Stam Fine seal of holiday viewing, it's over to you to leave a comment about the movie or, say, the television episode that you would feel like watching every December just to get into the spirit of things. There are no wrong answers unless it's an episode of Wings. So in the end, whether it's actually a Christmas movie or not matters not. It's all about the perception. Do you just want to watch Die Hard? Guess what? You don't need an excuse to do that.
What the fuck?
If you enjoyed this review, please like and subscribe, leave a comment below, or check out some of our other videos.
And my firstborn, he's an elf.
Actually, I'm adopted.